miss him more than maybe they think, although I think Luther Burden's exploding and Colton Loveland. But I thought, they got a kid out of Connecticut, kind of a interesting wide receiver. I'm like, they actually address the room. They go to a stadium. There's less wind. Offensively, they got the tight ends, the back. I kind of like Buffalo. Chicago's funny because everybody knew, get a rush in. And they got better on offense. They found scheme fits. I like the fact they got high character guys that were healthy in college. Like, so much I like. But the Bears draft largely got panned. And I've said, I don't like my coach having too much power in the draft, but I don't know if I love their GM. I love their coach. Your overall feel on what Chicago did?
I'm not surprised that they went with Thieneman over the edge rushers that were available there at 25. Because right now, if you look at their depth chart before the draft started, safety was a bigger need than edge rusher, even to play in week 1. There's no one you feel good about next to Kobe Bryant back there. And so them picking Thieneman because they just thought that he wasn't going to be there and he's a special talent in that range, I totally get. Logan Jones is going to be somebody that's overdrafted by them because he fits their scheme and not a lot of others. So I assume on a consensus board, he was lower than where the Bears took him. When you get past that and you look at the edge rushers who were available, Kieran Crawford is a guy from Auburn that I really liked. He has a ton of juice off the edge. I really liked the Raiders getting him where they did. He physically is not a player the Bears would draft. He has short arms. Dennis Allen is not going to do that. And so the edge rushers, like who was available in that range, there weren't a lot of guys that fit their preferences. And so them going with the Roush to kind of lean further into their offensive identity, that's not necessarily surprising. The one that's harder for me to get behind is I can't do the 4-3 kick returner in the third round. Like just give me interior offensive line depth or something. Like that's one where even if you're trying to spin it, that one's a little bit tougher for me. But the first 3 picks and how they align with the Bears' identity and their needs, I think those you can make a strong argument for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm excited to get beyond the draft conversations. I think this is usually like pretty much the end. We have all the stuff leading up to the draft, then we have the immediate aftermath of the draft, then we have a little bit of the lingering of the draft, and then I think we all just move on from the draft, right? And in constantly trying to evaluate what each team did and trying to, oh, this was overdraft, or I can't believe they passed on this, can't believe they passed on that. I don't think the criticism makes a whole lot of sense. I think I understand that people wanted them to go absolutely all in on defense, etc., etc. Like that's what the big expectation was. At the end of the day, they drew specific conclusions of what they needed and what talent they thought was available. And that's the direction they went in. And throughout that as well, they were like, we can also reinforce our offense to continue making it even better. And this is what I had said before, and I don't want to kind of go on a whole repeat rant, but like the absolute ultimate superpower of this, like this offense truly has the ability to be historically great when they can actually execute Ben Johnson's vision. And Caleb Williams can execute that as well as doing all the extra stuff that he does. This offense is in a position to be so, insanely dominant and unstoppable. That ultimately is the superpower of this team. Think about what they were able to do in Detroit with Jared Goff. Now, I think Jared Goff is an awesome quarterback. And I think Jared Goff can run an offense at the highest level. But he can't do some of the things that Caleb Williams does. And listen, Caleb Williams may never run an offense as high as a Jared Goff because that's Jared Goff's superpower. That's why Jared Goff is in the NFL making the money that he makes. Right? He can run an offense at a higher level than, a Jalen Hurts, a Lamar Jackson, a Josh Allen, right? Like that's because he does not have that same level of physical skill sets. But those other quarterbacks can take a step forward because of what they can do, because of what Jalen, Josh, Lamar, Caleb pick whatever reference points you want. And so it's just like the better and better and better that Caleb gets at just running the offense, executing the vision of Ben Johnson, and now combining that, and that's how we got the version of Patrick Mahomes that we got with Andy Reid. It was just like, my gosh, when you can do both, it's insane. We always talk about dual threat quarterbacks. And when you really think about it, one, I don't even know what that means anymore because the NFL has completely changed. So once upon a time that phrasing made sense, now not so much. But really, we don't have many quarterbacks that can truly run the offense at the highest level and be mobile and do all the off-the-script stuff. In the past when we talked about dual-threat quarterbacks, it's because some quarterbacks when they were they were either statues or they couldn't move at all or they're really mobile and they either lacked the ability to be accurate, right? Like they could throw obviously, but they weren't quite accurate. But they could never quite actually execute the off like Kirk Cousins could run an offense better than a Michael Vick. Even though Michael Vick can obviously do a million more things. So I'm just talking about operationally. And so when you can run the operation at the highest level and do all the things that Caleb can do, it's just like you really do just catapult to the moon, man. Like it's just you're just going. Like that's really what being a dual-threat quarterback will ultimately become. Do you run the quarterback who can run an offense as efficiently pre-snap, post-snap, etc. as well as and I'm purposely using these quarterbacks' names because they're not fancy, they're not seen as special, they're not seen as elite, yet they do things at such a high level that's why they've been able to continue to be in the NFL, the Kirk Cousins, the Phillip Rivers, the Jared Goffs, etc. And that's why I showed you guys the clip before with Greg Cosell talking about being able to run the offense at the highest level, we were forgetting how important that is in the NFL. We're forgetting how valuable that is in the NFL because we're so obsessed with all the other stuff. And so if Ben Johnson can continue to build and reinforce this offense when you have a piece like Caleb, all you do is have to get him operationally up to speed and you've just built the most dangerous offense in the history of the NFL. You just built the most dangerous offense in the history of the NFL. And in a lot of ways it can become that next evolution of Andy and Mahomes 2.0, But that's not just about all the extra stuff. That's not just all about off the script making great throws and being Iceman. It's beyond that. It's running an insanely efficient offense. When that is your foundation and then you add on the extra stuff, again, it's game set match. It's just over. It's just over. Everyone else in the NFL, if you're a fan of another team or you just don't like the Bears, your real only big prayer is that Ben Johnson just has too big of an ego and so he just can't quite bring everything together or that Caleb will never be able to quite be as accurate or operationally in tune with the offense as you would really want he can't quite get there. Because that's the only saving grace. If he can, it's just again, I don't know how because you could use we saw alone in Detroit how unstoppable that offense was. And again, Jared Goff runs an offense at just the highest level, man. At an insanely high level. An insanely high level. And in a lot of ways it's that was such a stark difference between J.J. McCarthy and Sam Darnold. It would just that was a huge which makes sense. One's an experienced veteran and one was a first-year starter. So it's just those things matter a lot. A lot. And so I don't see the criticism. Snorts, I don't see them just drafting players just because people say that this is the specific need that they have. They got the players that they want, that they reached the conclusions on, and then they drafted other specific players that they're and we can continue to reinforce and widen the margin of error of this offense that is going to be our superpower anyway. That goes a long way. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Chicago Bears still drawing criticism for their draft approach? Do you trust Chicago to build a Super Bowl roster? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So do you agree with me or disagree with me? Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We've built an amazing community here. I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. It really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.